I know, that's fine, you don't have to.
I'd like to call the meeting to order, if everyone's here. And I'd like to ask Mr. Verado to please take the roll.
Of course. Commissioner Brenner.
Here.
Commissioner Pritchard.
Present.
Commissioner Gladstone.
Here.
Commissioner Merrigan.
Here.
Commissioner Murray.
Here.
Vice Chair Yanni.
Present.
Chair Sheffer.
Here. Okay. May I please have a motion to accept the agenda?
I'll make a motion to accept the agenda for this meeting on Thursday, September 13th, 2018.
And a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. All right. Now, this is the time that has been set aside for members of the public to address the Public Arts Commission on items of general interest within the subject matter jurisdiction of the Public Arts Commission, and agenda items if the member of the public cannot be present later in the meeting at the time the item is heard by the Commission. Additionally, members of the public may address the Commission on each item listed on the posted agenda at the time that each item is heard. Although the Public Arts Commission values your comments pursuant to the Brown Act, it generally cannot take any action on items not listed on the posted agenda. 5 minutes is assigned for each speaker. I would like to note that we have 2 presentations that are on the agenda, but I understand we have a couple of people who would like to speak in this public comments part. So do you want to come up and introduce yourself, please? And if you would spell your name for the person who does the minutes, that would be very helpful. No, it needs to be green.
It's green at the base.
Hi, my name is Curry Mendes, Currymendes. I'm a local artist, and I have a mural in town. It's a Marilyn with the flowers in her hair, and it's located on the side of Lulu's. Yeah, very exciting. I wanted to write to you, all of you, but let me tell you, I'm a calm, cool-headed person for every topic except art. And the process that it took to get that mural where it is today was very long. I would love to be involved in, I can't do it today in the 5 minutes, but I would love for someone to be curious at least, like what was it like for someone on the outside to go through the whole entire process? Because I was told that we were the first ones to do that, to go through every single step. We didn't miss one of them. And it took about a year. And so I watched things happen. Now, as an artist, I moved to Palm Springs to become an artist, right? And feast or famine, I'm doing it. And so things were moving right along. And the mural I thought was going to be bigger than it is. I thought it would be a natural news thing, and it is not. I was surprised by that, so I guess I have to learn about submitting to the news and let people know about it. But then I've also been watching what you guys are doing, right? Because I try to get all the art news that's going on in town. And I just noticed that my own mural in this community, this little small community, was not being produced and not being talked about, no pictures of it. And I scrolled through the Facebook page, and I did see my post that was posted on someone else's page and then posted on your page. It was like a second thought. And I thought honestly, for going through the whole process and being praised, I told everyone that I came in contact with that it was my Picasso moment to sit here amongst all of you because you're very high praising of my talent, and I really appreciate that. But again, I want to be a full-time artist, and I don't want to be a poor one, right? And then the Instagram, it's like, oh, check out our Instagram. So I did, and I'm like, oh my God, she's not there. Where's my mural? She's not there. And I saw every mural ever, even the ones that didn't go through the process, are being produced by you, are publicly announced by you. So it's just, I guess I was not outraged, but I have feelings.
No, I'm glad you brought it to our attention. And I want to tell you that we are playing catch up on years of not publicizing anything that we did. You also were not the first one to go through the process. You were luckily the last one.
Oh, okay.
Because we did manage to get the ordinance rewritten.
Oh, great.
And now a mural application comes to just to the Arts Commission, with some input from the Planning Department about how it's made, et cetera, and attached to the wall.
But not the
And-
planning commission.
Right,
So
not
that
the
whole
planning
step has
commission,
been eliminated.
Not
Yay.
the
How about the
architectural
architectural
review.
people?
Right, they're no longer in the process.
The architects aren't either?
No.
Oh, my God, that's.
And then it
that's
goes
wonderful.
on our recommendation to the city council.
Oh, great.
So we did, in 2018, we've managed to do, I think, 4 people did murals, all within a couple of months. So you're absolutely right, it was a horrible process. And the reason you're seeing any pictures on Instagram, and we will make sure to remind our social media person to
Yeah.
get the Lulu one on.
We got the
is
little
that
dog
we-
on there, but they talked about the dog and not the art.
Yes,
Right.
and that was,
And that went up recently, and I was like, yeah, they knew I was coming. No.
no, but she's sort of going around the city and getting all of the
Okay.
existing art. So, but we're very glad that you came to tell us, and I think we can get a few more pictures up there.
We
Is
heard you.
anyone else?
We heard
Yeah.
you even before you spoke, right?
All right, thank you.
No, and
Because I
we-
was also thinking, I mean, I would love to be involved in the process if you want me to be outside of this. Like, for the money that we're spending, I don't even know what it's going for. I'd love to know, because I did go there and see the new application, and it says you need this, 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 and it's a nice list, a healthy one, and a pricey one. And like a press release, once you're used to doing it, it's really just a matter of clicking a button, like, we have this going on, psh, and it goes to everybody. And for the money, I think it would be great for you guys to offer that service, in addition to, if you get passed. you
We
know.
did cut the fees in half also.
Oh,
We
yeah, I
got
saw the
city
fee
to
was
do that.
lower, yeah.
You also don't, we don't actually control the press release and
Oh, you
press
don't?
process. That's all
Okay.
through the city. So what we can do is request
Oh,
that they do that.
Okay.
But that's no guarantee that it'll happen.
Okay.
So I'm sorry.
Well,
I'm sorry that happened.
uh-huh.
The other thing I just want to say is there's also a slight difference because it's a mural on a private property. So it's not actually in our. We don't own it.
Oh,
So
you own the other
Lulu
ones?
owns it. We
Lulu
own
owns
other ones.
Oh,
So the Instagram that you're talking about, which is great, that's like a mix of pieces, right? So they're
well,
not
it's everything but mine, actually.
Okay, but those are put there by. They're not put there by us
Okay.
as the commission. It's like a public forum, right? So,
Yeah.
so it's not like a city controlled Instagram page.
But
So
I think
that's
you are
why-
on our website, our page in the city website. I'm pretty sure.
And there's just a lot.
Have you
Maybe.
looked lately? I
I
think
clicked
I-
on the map, and then I clicked on trying to find my thing, and I'm like, I'm still not here, but that's,
Yeah.
I mean, that takes a lot to be updated, I do know that.
The map is probably
Yeah,
out of date.
yeah,
But you come at the moment when we really are trying to catch up and make all of this information
Yes.
more well-known.
Well, that's why I
and-
wanted to come in person. That's why I think I always say, I'm like, you should write me a letter. I'm like, letters can be weird. Letters, you can read in between the lines, and I'm a easygoing guy for the most part. I always wanted to talk, because talking seems healthier. Like, yeah, an email would be like, how dare you?
No,
like,
but
I
we
never said
promise
that.
if you do another mural, we'll
Okay.
do better.
If
And the
you
art- I don't
pair
know.
up with someone else, right?
I'm
and
glad it's
bring
gone
another
because-
project.
Yeah, because I'm glad the architectural review board is gone, because to sit through that with no sarcasm and silence was the most difficult thing I think I've done in my life.
But
They-
it's a
they
wonderful
asked-
mural. and
Thank you
we
so
love
much.
it.
And
So-
I would also say,
Yeah.
if you have time to stay for the next presentation was Palm Springs Mural Fest,
Okay.
which is something proposed for
Ah,
next year.
yes.
You may
Great.
find that very enlightening.
Yeah, I would definitely will stay.
Yeah.
So thank you, and thanks for having me and listening.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Very
Thank you
good.
so much for coming and sharing that.
Yeah.
We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, yeah.
I do get a lot of tags from tourists.
Well, that's
Good.
good. Great. Okay, welcome, and please introduce yourself.
Good
Is
afternoon. My name
one-
is Salim.
Hold on, are we moving into the
We're
agenda?
still in the,
Public
Oh,
comment.
comment.
We're still in public comment,
yeah,
okay.
people that didn't make the.
My name is Salim Alama, SalimAlama, and I'm very pleased to be here today. Thank you, Jay, for inviting me. So I'm representing the Neighborhoods USA in Palm Springs. We're very excited because Neighborhoods USA was formed in 1975. Its mission is really to share and create information across neighborhoods throughout the United States. And in 2019, Palm Springs is the host city for NUSA USA. And I think you have brochures in front of you. It'll be from May 15th until the 19th. It will be centered in the convention center, but again, over 1,000 people will be coming, and their interest is how Palm Springs actually relates to our neighborhoods. So we will be doing tours, and one of the tours that we're doing is the artistic tour. So there will be tours of sustainable energy. We're doing tours of how modernism is done, how housing is done, how we handle the homeless situation. So we have 18 tours in general. Those will all take place on Friday, the 17th of May, from 4 until 8. So they're 4-hour tours. We'll actually have buses coming to the convention center, and one of those buses will say Artistic Palm Springs. So we're very interested to work with you, with the Art Commission. We have some ideas of what that tour might include, such as the Palm Springs Art Museum, some of the Nate Reed or Shag areas, going to some of the art areas in northern Palm Springs, but we need your input. Jay and I were both saying we're very excited about this, but neither of us has a tremendous art background. So we'd love ideas from you and we can reach out to you for what we should include in the tour. We want some bags that we'll give to the tour members. There'll be about 40 people on that tour, so that's the number of people we're talking about. And I also wanted to note that at the back of the room we have Jim Knaus, who's responsible for all the tours that are happening, not just this one. And then Denise, who I think everyone knows, has been involved with the neighborhoods of how we actually work through NUSA in May. She was at the Birmingham convention earlier this year. Birmingham was the host city in 2018. So we've learned a lot, and we just feel that Palm Springs is a perfect place to showcase how we handle our neighborhoods and all the artwork that we have in our city.
That's
So
terrific.
with that, we'd like to reach out to you, and I'm not sure who I should be working with.
I was going to ask if there's a commissioner or two who would like to volunteer to work with this.
I would be quite willing to have me as a contact person for the Arts Commission.
Awesome.
So if you were to email Anne, then she can introduce us through email.
That would
and
be
we make the
perfect.
And if
connection.
there's someone else also,
I think we would it be appropriate to just make this part of the Sites and Installations Subcommittee? Or is there
Yes,
another
that-
one that makes sense?
no, I think that probably does.
Yeah. So we
That's
could
the
just,
committee that's working on where art is going, and
Perfect. So I can reach out through you, and then you'll help.
yes, and
with
we'll
Yeah.
give you the emails of the 3 committee members.
that? Great. And a bird told me that you're working on your 30th anniversary and have some ideas of what you're putting in your bags for it. So I think we would be very interested to share that information.
That would be great. And
Great.
also, I was at the State of the City luncheon, and not only did the mayor have several slides about public art and say very nice things, but they played the video that you used to win the convention coming here, and it's great. And I hope you'll put it online somewhere so that people can see it.
Yeah, I think we are
Is it?
putting it, right?
We have a website for the NUSA conference. It's NUSA and USA Palm Springs 2019.com. And it's on each of the pages. So if you scroll down a little bit, you'll see the mayor's face. Click on that, and that's the video.
can I just add that for the minutes? I just want Denise Goolsby noted that it's Palm Springs, Noosa, wait,
NUSA Palm Springs 2019.
Noosa Palm Springs 2019.com. Okay, thank you.
But they did any of these videos and State of the City and stuff touches on the art, and I think nobody's paid much attention in past years, so we'd be happy to be part of this, and may have come up with some goodies by the time we celebrate our. And we just met with Destination PSP about some products that would feature the art in Palm Springs.
Great. And Destination PS will actually have a booth in the convention center during NUSA.
Great.
And I think they're donating some money for
20%
it.
of the sales.
20% of the
Oh,
sales.
great.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Does anyone else have any questions or suggestions or? Okay, well, thank you for coming.
Thank you so much.
And again, if you want to wait a few minutes till you hear about this Mural Fest, it may also be something that would be appealing. It's a little bit after the NUSA conference, but
I'll stay.
it's going to be big.
Thank
Okay,
you so much.
Thank you.
I'm glad to see the Lawrence Crosley sign in your booklet.
Absolutely.
Excellent.
Great.
Yeah. Okay, before we get to the presentations, may I have please a motion to approve the minutes from the June 14th, 2018 regular meeting, if you've had a chance to read them. I would note that we have illustrations in them for the first time, very nice, of the murals. So little by little, we're getting a paper trail of this.
I guess I shouldn't, since I wasn't here, I shouldn't make a
Oh,
motion.
all right.
right?
Maybe we have a motion.
Madam Chair, I make a motion that we approve the minutes of the Thursday, June 14th commission meeting.
Very good.
I'd like to make a small,
Yes,
small
corrections
change.
are,
On page 5, where I recuse myself from the discussion in protest. If you could remove in protest,
yeah,
that would be
no.
great.
Where is
Thank you.
That's,
Thank you.
that's fine.
Also, Madam Chair, as a correction, it says under B2, social media and publicity, Commissioner Murray, that's news to me. And Brenner,
That,
on the agenda.
right. I think we somehow just got two items mixed up, because at one point it said sort of an update on the project that you're working on. So we'll just divide that.
But wait,
And I thought Madalena was going to be here. We may,
Oh, on here.
we
On the
may
agenda.
just
Oh.
skip that number 2.
Oh, that's on
Um,
the agenda. Okay.
But first, we should go to the presentations. We'll make sure that you
Oh.
don't have to do the social media stuff.
So right now, any other changes to the minutes from the June meeting?
Okay. All right, I make a motion that I amend my motion to accept the minutes for the June 14th meeting with a change as noted by Commissioner Gladstone.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any objections? No. Okay. So, the first presentation is about the PS Mural Fest. So why don't you guys come up and, again, spell your names so that people can get them right. Thanks.
Good afternoon. Michael Emery, that's E-M-O-R-Y.
Kim Waltrip, K-I-M-W-A-L-T-R-I-P.
Yes, good afternoon. So, PS Mural Fest, and there's a lot of talk about murals.
Yeah, do you guys want to pull it up, the website up? Just, I mean, you have the folders, but maybe our fans in the back.
psmuralfest.com. So while he's bringing that up, you have a packet in front of you. It's pretty well laid out. Oh, it's a work in progress, so as all things are at the early stages. What is PS Mural Fest? There's a lot of talk about murals right now. Obviously, there's been a lot of notable news and things about murals, and I think around the world, there's just a phenomenon of murals happening. They convey a lot of energy, and we want to bring that energy to Palm Springs. You guys have already are moving in that direction in terms of initiating murals around the city. This is an ambitious undertaking, but we are proposing, somewhere in the rounds of 15 to 20 murals to take place a 2-week period in next June to July 4th, which is still a work in progress. We don't want to conflict with any other of the city's agendas like Short Fest and Splash House. We're trying to work with all the city agencies to make sure that we're working together. But effectively, what we're doing is providing a forum for artists. It's a competition, and the competition is going to be curated. The theme this year would be Words of Wisdom. And as you know, words, of course, are the most powerful drug used by mankind. And we've chosen 14 the most inspiring English words, as well as some foreign language words, to address the fundamentals of what it means to be human. The competing artists will choose a power word and express it as a mural.
Somebody's missing.
Yeah, there's some people involved there.
Glitches.
As we know, each competitor is to select 3 words and concepts and express their meanings literally, metaphorically, or personally in a mural format. And each mural submission will be judged based on the following criteria: best use of color, audience favorite, best application of the concept, originality, and most technical. So we're curating these in advance. We want them to be tasteful, exciting, colorful, technical. But in addition to the murals, it's, as we see with Modernism Week, as we see with especially any other festival, it's about the programming and the ancillary programming to bring tourism to Palm Springs. And we've chosen a pocket in the summertime that is traditionally a slow period. And so working with the Tourism Bureau, working with a number of other interested parties, we want to drive traffic to the city. So our opening gala would take place at the Art Museum. We've talked to them initially about what that would look like and the costs associated. We also are proposing a block party down Arenas and making that already a colorful street, but transforming that with additional local artists to transform those walls, the streets, obviously entertainment. So it's not just building murals, it's pushing energy toward the community. It's also, the murals will be specifically, we've isolated 20 locations that are, some of them are underused or slow traffic retail areas. And so we want to drive traffic to those areas as well as, you know, just spread the love in Palm Springs. Do you want to add more to it?
We're going to have an art market. Planning on having an art market, and then we're going to end it with a big paint brawl. Everybody wears white. Put colored powder in a water bottle or a balloon, and you get blasted with paint. And it's going to be a concert as well. Our DJ, we have a famous DJ, Gianluca Bacchi, who's all over this and is willing to come. And so we're trying to figure out the location for that, but that's how we'd like to end it. So art is incorporated in every single event.
Yeah, and so it's really about using the murals as a launching place, especially featuring local artists, and giving them a format to launch their careers. You know, as we heard already, you know, this is the art world is moving along. You know, it's not just about galleries anymore. And in fact, because of social media, there needs to be a different format for artists to launch. And so these murals are a showcase to give artists as well as established artists another format, another launching pad, and engage the community. We'll have artist chats, hopefully, at the community center, as well as our local artist hub. We have yet to decide where that is. But it is about pushing, you know, the message through in social media, but it's about also, you know, again, creating an experience for tourists to come in and saturate for a 2-week period. Go to night, you know, restaurants that have flavored color events at night, whether it's colorful cocktails or, you know, anything that's going to captivate somebody to spend some money and stay in the city and do those activities.
We're not sure of the time yet. We're really ambitious, so we have a few days, but we might have to shorten that down just to make it work and be successful. And we
Right.
would love to work with you, partner with you in some way, meet with you, and talk about how we can do this best and how we can maybe get on the agenda to figure out how the city can maybe partner with us and help us with that mural application process. And
I think the first thing we can do is, since mural applications come through the Arts Commission, we've never had one that was more than one mural or that was not designed, where the designs were not all set by the time the application was made. And I think that we could work with you to make this into one application to do this Mural
Yeah,
Fest.
to
That'd be
streamline.
helpful.
And see if we can, I mean, if we had to do 20 separate applications, it would be, as Curry will tell you, it
Yeah.
would be
Yeah.
just really.
Time, yeah, costly and timely.
Does anyone else have any questions or comments on how we could?
Yeah, just a couple of things. If you could elaborate on what the outreach is for selecting mural artists, whether they're reaching out to our local artist community and then nationally and internationally, how that's going to happen. And then the second thing would be, you said that you would, with the artist selections, the murals would basically be set once you've selected. So then if we're getting the applications after that point, then we would be seeing the murals as they're going to be.
Correct.
Right, exactly. So we want to feature several categories. The local Coachella Valley artists, Southwest region artists, LA specifically, Arizona, San Diego. But we also want to reach out to Chicago, New York. We're also reinforcing our infrastructure so that we can reach out to these different locations, as well as create a forum for international artists and working with the Tourism Bureau. Germany, Australia, we want this to be an international festival. And it's very ambitious, but certainly once we have all of the kind of I's dotted and T's crossed from an infrastructure standpoint, we'll have an open submission likely 6 months prior to which is coming up quickly. But an open call. We've also been targeting a host of artists just that are famous muralists. We've been getting contact from other muralists and other artists, interested parties. So it will be open. It will be open for everyone. Again, it's thematic, and so it's curated. And, it needs to be, again, based on the curation, it would be, again, how they express themselves. Using a power word. We'd ideally like to see 3 submissions from each artist. The goal also is to make this a profitable situation and work in collaboration with those artists because, again, this is proprietary to our market and this festival. And so those submissions would be then compiled and we would create a book, an artist book to sell annually, as well as have an online catalog for people to potentially buy those murals. So we have, an ongoing sort of vested interest in promoting these artists. In addition to that, again, they'd be judged. So there's 5 criteria: best use of color, audience favorite, best application of the concept, originality, most technical.
And most of the buildings are privately owned, right? So you would have to get.
There's a smattering of privately owned buildings, as well as we've recently talked to the Parks and Recreation Department to also isolate potentially basketball courts as well, and trying to use and integrate the community as much as possible.
And I think the Palm Springs tram, is that owned by the city or is it tram a separate entity on its own?
I think it's
I think
separate.
it's separate.
I know the answer. to
Talking about
that.
the tram.
Yeah, there's
building.
like a beautiful
I
wall
believe
right
there's a
at the
tram
bottom.
authority.
Is
so,
it?
yeah.
So it's its own?
But very
Okay,
closely
so then
related
it's
to the
private.
city.
Yeah, there's an enormous building there that we'd love to be the showcase.
Yeah.
Oh, like where the restrooms are behind the visitor center?
The
No,
big
right as
gray
you
building. It's
enter.
actually in one of the last pages of that packet. There's mural locations, or at least proposed mural locations. There's a large gray. The picture really doesn't do it justice, but it's an enormous building.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
That's a great segue because one of the things that I would like to challenge you to do, and I also am kind of leading off of the NUSA, that you look outside of the regular corridor.
Sure.
That you
Sure.
get down to South Palm Springs, that we get
Yep.
up north to the areas that it's just not all concentrated
Yes.
down still in the
Absolutely.
business district.
Yeah, and we
Those
did
other
think
areas
about
are
that.
good.
A lot
And,
of- yeah.
There's one out by Vistachino and.
Yeah, you know where the new Paul Bar is, bar food
Yeah.
slash.
Down
That area is probably the black hole of Palm Springs almost, right? And that wall, to me, coming off of Gene Autry is a perfect place, to showcase anyone coming off of the 10, as well as even bringing potentially all the way out to the 10 of Indian behind the Jack in the Box. There's a new dispensary going up there. There's a corridor there that also would be great. It's an alleyway. So there's a lot of out-of-the-box places, but it really comes down to first being partnered with the city so that we can officially do this rather than knocking on a door and being turned down by someone.
And are these meant to be permanent?
So the length, we're intending each year for the winner to at least be around for the entire year, right? Keep that wall up for the entire year. The other contestants would be 6 to 9 months. And we would resurface the wall and start fresh again for the next year, because this would be an annual event.
But you'd be using different walls each year, or you imagine using the same walls over and over again?
Well, ideally, we'd like to grow, and I think as we start pointing traffic to different retail pockets, certain other places would make themselves more available. And if they didn't make the cut the first round, I'm sure they would probably be available the second round.
I think the idea is to mix it up so that we, sort
Spread
of
the
fold in
love.
the entire city.
Are you planning to be responsible for painting over the murals, or?
Yes.
Yes,
is it-
We
maintaining
would
and painting
maintain
over them.
The
Yep.
whole year.
Is this your official logo, PS?
For today,
Yeah, for today, for this moment.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
we've gone through many iterations,
yeah.
and
In
this is
terms of
today.
ownership, maybe Palm Springs, spelling
We
it
did
out.
hear that. We got a note
Yes.
back, so, yeah,
Right.
we need to put that in there somewhere, maybe at the bottom or something, the PS Mural Fest in Palm Springs.
And do you have the curators who were actually finalizing these in place, or is that still?
We've talked to a few people. We would love to incorporate, as many incredible people, if
Well,
people on this panel or
the thinking, too,
council would
is
like to be in there as well.
the judging process, obviously including the council in the curation process, but also in the judging process. We have very specific criteria in terms of how to pick the winners, but we'd like to get different personalities as well within the community. There's just a lot of people that have, the subjectivity. You ask 7 people, and everyone throws a different recommendation out, so.
Because I think, I know I personally, and I think most of the people on the commission, are interested in seeing more diversity. And so I think one thing that we would not like to see is very non-diverse artists or curators, or where it starts to look very generic.
Sure.
Because one of our missions, right, is to bring art to the whole city that reflects the whole city. So
Right.
that's something I personally would like to see.
Sure, and just
Great.
into that point, what we'd like to do in the curation process is to highlight different mediums, which is why the technical aspects are a part of that. Whether you're a local graffiti or you're somebody who's very established who does murals, we would like to bring this festival so that it's bringing all the different styles together. Someone who's emerging, who's already established, and the different flavors. Art is a very subjective thing, so we want to make sure that we do cover all the bases.
So have you done Mural Fest in other places that you're starting from? Okay.
No,
Okay.
no, but we've seen them. They're all over the world. And
Great.
they're
They
pretty
just did one
amazing.
in
and-
Sacramento
Did
that
they?
you can see online.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The biggest one being
Quite a-
Montreal.
Montreal's the big one.
Berlin
Mural
does a big one, and part of the execution of this is doing our due diligence is speaking with local muralists who have done this specific area. So.
Yeah.
And our own
That'd be-
commissioner, because one of the things that we learned recently, thanks to Commissioner Gladstone, was when we had the big mural project at Palm Springs Cultural Center at the Camelot Theater. Are you familiar with those?
Yes.
murals? Which is, again, it's like how the climate here is so harsh, and
Yes.
that the
So-
pieces needed some special coatings
Right.
and UV coatings and things like that the artist had not used before because the artist was from a more temperate area. So, so things like that need to go, just kind of warn,
Technical.
things like that need to be figured into your planning process. Like in
Sure.
terms,
Yeah.
like especially if it's inexperienced artists or things, they need to have that kind of training so they know exactly what they need to and to create to go on the wall.
Part of that curation process too is the other submissions. They're going to submit their profile of who they are as an artist and if they've done murals before, but also factoring the logistics in. We're primarily the reason we're structuring a 2-week window is just to give the artist to work at night. Because we're proposing in the middle of June, July, we don't want people to drop on us.
Make it more
It's
like a
important.
party.
Yeah.
Exactly.
If it's at night.
It's engaging.
Well, yeah, and it's beautiful, you know, you have the
Exactly.
lights shining on and people are painting.
I have a question.
Yes.
So when the artists apply, do they propose an actual design, or do they just submit their portfolio of past works?
So they have their portfolio they're submitting, but they're also selecting 3 concepts based on the words, right? So these power words that we have, we'll have listed on our site. They'll choose which one they most respond to, and they'll submit 3 submissions. And then from there, that should,
So that if you select one of them, we would
Yeah.
be able to see
Exactly.
what was proposed.
You would
Well, of
approve
course, the
those.
very nature of this street art is that things always change in the
Well, we
feeling
would
of
be
the-
monitoring that, and we have a liaison who would be working with them and making sure
Specifically,
that, yeah.
right.
But the surfaces sometimes
Yes.
reject it. So, working backward from June, when do you think you would have the artists selected?
again, I think we would set the open call for the 6 months mark, and then we would have probably about 2 months of collecting submissions and sorting through them.
So you might have the choices 3 months before June?
At least 3 months.
At least
I
3
think,
months,
because we've got to
yeah.
market that
Okay.
as well.
Right.
Because as, you know, we have shortened the process, but there are certain problems, as in what day of the month the Arts Commission meets and the city council, and so
Well, that's-
I think you have to plan on basically a month.
Okay,
of-
turnaround time,
Yeah,
right.
from, and if you'll be in touch with us, we will keep promoting the notion that this could be bundled into one if all the information's available. But it gets a little, the planning department has some rigorous questions that they'll want to know about types of paint and surfaces and, but if, you know, if these are not intended to be permanent, then the usual questions about maintenance and not letting it fade, et cetera, may be less relevant in this case.
Madam Chair, are there any fees that we could possibly waive?
Ah, what a good idea.
Something to think
I
about.
believe that Commissioner Pritchard proposed that originally, and we said that we would,
Well, yeah, because generally we're working with the premise that during a calendar year, we'll we'll pay for the fees for up to like 3 or 4 mural applications. So in this process, if we handle yours as one mural application, then we would cover the fees specific to that permit,
We greatly
which is
appreciate that.
approximately $1,450.
yeah, $950 plus.
Yeah.
An interesting
Mailing.
question, though, is that
All the mailings.
right, the ordinance right now calls for notifying the neighbors within, I don't know,
500
feet.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's done by mail with a address label. But if there are 20 sites, we might have to see if the notice could be
Interesting.
done
Wow.
more
The whole city.
widely. I mean, it
Blanket.
might cover an awful lot of neighborhoods, so. But this is, you know, this has never been
Logistics.
done before, but
Right.
it's sort of a challenge too.
So I just like, so it says you're a for-profit organization here. So have you sought funding from other areas of it? You mentioned the Convention and Visitors Bureau.
We have spoken to them, but we haven't attacked any funding resources yet because we wanted to get all of our ducks in line starting here.
Okay.
You know, we've done sort of the infrastructure of the company, and we've talked to the art museum, and, you know, we know who we want to do our events, and some of them we know where, but we haven't gone after money yet.
Yeah.
Uh,
A lot of
we
pre-vetting.
really want to be.
Yeah, because we
Right.
had an issue with Desert X, which of course is nonprofit, but I mean, Desert
Right.
X was this sculpture festival. And they were coming to us seeking funding, which we were happy to do. And then sort of, it went through all these incarnations, and at the very end, it turned out that they actually got funding from the Tourism Bureau. And the city
Oh,
felt
yes,
that they
resorts,
just
right.
wanted to give one fund, you know, we didn't
Sure.
intend to give them double funding or
Right,
whatever.
right.
So just sort of, you know, when you're ready to do that, make it clear, you know.
Who's doing what, right, yeah.
Whom you're applying to or whatever.
Right, we'll have that
So-
segmented.
So we don't
Yeah.
kind of go through this
It's a-
circle, right?
We haven't actually asked you, are you paying the artists? You paying them an honorarium
We-
or a?
Yeah, sort of an honorarium. We're going to hopefully get a hotel on board or Airbnb, somebody to house them, and maybe get restaurants involved to feed them and to give them coupons for dinner and stuff, and then give them a stipend so they're not,
It's a big,
But a big part of this
Broke
too
for
is
2
launching
weeks.
them too. I mean, we're going to spend a lot of money. Part of this, of our budget, is to market them as an artist, as well as to promote them with their submissions and/or possibly their entire catalog, if that's something that they'd like to license out to us. So they have a vested interest.
that's great. But I think as a commission, as Commissioner Yanni said, we would like to see a real outreach to not the usual suspects. I mean, that there are people, Commissioner Murray's been working with some artists who haven't done a mural in Palm Springs before, but represent a part of the community. And, it's just a question of, there are a lot of Facebook groups and stuff of local artists where you could.
Certainly.
You could.
Yeah, we're
target
working
some
with
of them.
Nicholas Contaxis as well. I don't know if you know who he is. He's a local artist who he just sold a huge painting to Roger Federer and shipped it to Switzerland. He's autistic, so everything's painted on the floor. He's got a book. He's just amazing, and so we're going to feature him as a local artist and with special needs as well.
Part of also, just to piggyback that, and to your point, it's it's going to be an open call for most people to submit. For everyone. And when it comes to locations, if they're not a competing artist, there's still a huge forum for them to be utilized as a local artist. Whether we're focusing on the block party, where they're going to be assigned a wall, where they're going to be painting for the party, or they're going to be assigned a basketball court, where they're possibly located in their district, so that they're from that community and they're doing a mural specifically for their community. So the whole point is to utilize as many resources as possible, and at the same time make sure that the final product that goes on the main competing walls is, very marketable as well.
I have one last question, I think. Have you talked to other cities about doing this project under a different name?
Nope.
Okay?
No.
Thank you.
You mean other cities in the desert, or just?
In the desert or out of the desert.
Oh.
No, we
out
live
of
here. We
different
wanna do it
states.
here.
and-
We're from Palm Springs.
We live
I
in Palm
think.
Springs.
Yeah.
Okay.
Plus, it sounds like
Honest
they've got their
question.
work cut out for them.
And it sounds good. PS Mural Fest. It
Exactly.
sounds right.
Yeah.
Palm Springs, yeah.
All
Palm
right,
Springs, yeah.
Yeah, Palm Springs.
So,
Is there any
So-
questions? Or
It's
Yeah,
like-
any
We're,
questions?
we're just trying to cover all the bases. Sure.
right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
So are we.
Well, again, this is a big project, and, we haven't really dealt with anything like this, but I think there must be a way to bundle this.
Yeah, thank you.
because Even though we streamlined the process, it still would be difficult.
I mean, I just have to, I guess in the end, we certainly, I think we love murals. I think I speak for everyone, right? That everyone on this commission loves murals and wants to encourage you to pursue the project. There is a possibility that the only role we really have is helping you with these mural applications, right?
Wonderful.
Especially, as a for-profit, all the, say, like we
Yeah.
can't, I don't think we can really give you money or, so that could be our only thing, which is fine, and we appreciate it, but I just want to make sure you understand that, like, these
We do.
funding
We're realists.
buckets
We
that you're
know.
pursuing probably will come from other sources.
I understand.
So
And we
there are
appreciate
some
and
city
accept.
ones, like
Yes.
PS Resorts, which,
Right.
as,
Right.
as
Yeah, we're going to meet with
Commissioner Yanni said,
AFTAB
we
and-
found out we were both talking to
Right.
Desert X. And they were able to fund it.
Yeah.
Well,
great,
thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Any
you.
other questions or anything? No?
Yes,
Yes.
application deadline. How soon should
That's a good
Well,
question.
Yeah.
they apply?
From when they apply, it takes the planning department a little bit of time to, and you have to submit multiple copies of things, and then we meet on the second Thursday of the month. We could review one, and we could send it to the city council probably 10 days or 2 weeks later. So that's really about
A month.
yeah, at least a month, maybe 6 weeks from the day you walk in the door to the planning department with, and that would be, a land speed record.
Yeah,
But
because
I
you're
think
talking about
that the-
20, I mean, even though it's
Right,
one,
right.
you're talking about a lot of work for them to
Right.
go through, so I think.
But we will.
And 20 is a round number. We may have to obviously
Scale that.
reduce
When
and
you-
scale it
when
back
you're-
based on
When
what
you're
we come
getting
up.
close and you're doing the
Right.
applications, I think we'll try to go sit down with the planning department and say, how do you want to deal
Structure
with
this.
this? Yeah,
Yeah,
and
actually,
maybe you
yeah.
don't need 10 copies of everything. Gets to be a lot of paper.
But also, I'm just thinking, like, again, backing up just a little bit more. So, because if you come to our meeting and then there are some changes, then we're not going to meet for another month. You know,
Right,
so you might
gotcha.
want to back it out even one more meeting just to allow like a cushion there.
Sure.
And I'm also thinking, I mean, our mural subcommittee might.
Yes.
Yeah, I
work-
mean,
you know,
might
you'd
be
work with
great
them
for you
and-
to just send as soon as you have it, so
Yeah.
maybe the subcommittee can meet, prior to
Yeah.
the meeting, so we can
That would
help.
be
I think
good.
at the
And-
meeting, it
and
should be
you-
more like
make-
this
and
is.
Maybe
this,
you bring
yeah.
it to
Yeah.
the full
And then,
commission.
Right.
And so maybe that would really honestly be like, be great to have it all kind of ready to go like February.
Right,
Oh,
yeah.
oh, yeah.
Yeah, like mid-February would be kind of the latest, so if you could start sending us materials in January, then we know at least the subcommittee can meet and talk with you about things, and we can, liaise with the city and just make sure the application is good.
Okay.
Great.
And we do have a mural subcommittee, which is Commissioner Pritchard, Gladstone, and
Yes.
Right.
Awesome.
So, and we'll make sure you get
Great.
their names so you can.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, we've met
I think
you
we're just
two
missing
already.
one part.
Just missing you.
Excellent.
Great.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you very much,
Thank
guys.
you
Thanks so much
so
for
much.
coming.
Exciting.
Okay. Okay, we have one more presentation, which is from Artisipate. Sounds good.
Hi, I'm Philip Spencer. I'm the
Wait.
project ambassador.
One sec.
You gotta sit down,
have to-
push the button.
They won't.
Protest.
Apparently, there's a lot of that going around. Right?
Bye, thank you guys. The thing is,
So-
we're being videotaped, which is why they
Yeah.
would
Has
like
to go through
to
the,
speak
Yeah.
right through
Yeah.
them.
And you need to
Even if
turn-
we can hear you,
There's a
it's
button
not
on your
enough.
mic, so it should turn green. Yeah.
Look at that.
Do I have
Okay.
to hold on to the button every time?
No, you do
All right,
not.
thank you. My name is Philip Spencer. I'm the project ambassador for Artisipate. My spelling is PhillipSpencer, and this.
Hi, I'm Maria Patakis. Last name is spelled Patakas, and I'm the public relations for this early stage project that we've got going on. And thank you for inviting us, Jay.
Yeah, Jay, thank you. We are a group of 388 alumni from the Young Americans, which is a performing arts group that was very popular in the 60s and 70s. As we are now aging, we have all decided that we want to handle our retirement in a way that we are not sitting in some nursing home pretending we love shuffleboard. And so we've come up with a concept that we've been working on for 6 years. The past year, we've been getting more serious about it. Today's presentation is really just an introduction because this process is going to be very long. I do have slides. Jay, I don't know if you've got a... Oh, is it Wi-Fi? I did send you a zip file alternatively. Did you see that? You are so good. Wow. Yeah, I was going to go through the slides, but I have a feeling that due to time, I'll just talk and you guys can look when you like. I do want to respect your time. So our mission statement is this, and then I'll explain what we're planning on doing. Artisipate is a vibrant, creative community dedicated to engaging, enriching, and empowering lives through dynamic experiences in the performing and fine arts. What we want to do is to, first we'll get our 501c3, we want to be nonprofit, purchase a piece of land in the Palm Springs area, and build a residence for us to live. Today I'm not going to be focusing on the residence as much because our secondary function is going to be building what we're calling right now an arts park. When we presented this to Jay, he was a little concerned because you guys are so focused on getting the arts park in front of the museum up and running. Our arts park is not going to be in any way competitive in that regard. I'm very much a futurist, and I'm fascinated and in love with new styles of art. So I'd like to present some of those to you. First couple slides are just the residences. We're hoping to have between 120 and 150 residences for us and for anyone else who wants to move to the Palm Springs area or already lives here, who has been involved in the arts in any way at all, whether they're performers, fine artists, even if they were in the technical fields behind the scenes. Many of us don't have things like Social Security and pensions because we've been freelance all of our lives, and we want to control our survival. We're also very, you can press play if you like. We're also very, very passionate about education. We want our facility to be interactive. We want to teach intergenerationally. We want to teach tap, dance, voice, piano. We want to teach sculpture, painting. We want to have classes, dance classes and yoga. Second phase from the residences will be a theater. We're very fortunate that the different, we've been meeting with the Palm Springs Cultural Center, the Desert Arts Council, who may very well be our 501c3 sponsor. We're working with them now for the application, and we're hopeful that the board will approve our project. And then after that, we hope to become a part of CVEP to guide our project through to completion. Ah, okay. And there should be a play function. In our residences, we're going to have common dining areas. We hope to somehow figure out a way, being a nonprofit, to have a cafe and retail spaces. The leases, we imagine, will simply go back into sustaining our development. We're also very passionate about sustainable living. We would love to get LEED certification. We'd love to do everything solar, wind power, geothermal, HVAC, as well as air to water for our water. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but it's advanced ways, just like old-fashioned in-the-window air conditioners. There was the drip tube because they had to, let the water drain. They've developed that technology now quite intensely, and there are very large units that can produce, even in the desert, up to 400 gallons per day of water. We'll do gray water. All the landscaping will be drought tolerant. So what you're seeing now is a bit of our main project that we're hoping to get you excited about today, which is the Arts Park. We want to have a public space that has fresh and new art forms. In the Arts Park, we want to focus on sustainability, and we want to have 2 pavilions. Those pavilions will be built as berms that are covered with landscaping, and inside will be housed first a sustainability pavilion that has touch screens and teaches tourists and students alike about all of those eco-friendly power sources. The second one will be the virtual reality pavilion, which will utilize, of course, the newer forms of virtual reality. We're not interested in the gaming. We want to promote the artists that are doing virtual reality art. I've participated in some of those shows, and they're extraordinary. If you do get a chance to see them, off the charts. I went through the universe, going to different galleries on different planets in one of them. It was extraordinary. Of course, as I said, we want to do very all of the landscaping will be sustainable. You may see a photo soon of Woolly Time, which is a ground cover that's sustainable, drought tolerant. And functions as a ground cover like grass. It's very tolerant to large groups of people and so on. Also in the Arts Park, we want to have sculpture gardens that are solar sculptures. So they have solar panels integrated inside, and at night they light up, as well as all of the lighting that goes into the space. You can just keep going. I'm actually ahead of you. Again, I would rattle on and go down rabbit trails if I felt we had more time, but again, I'm going to respect your time. So these are ideas of the hardscape we want. We want everything to be recognizable as the highest quality of art and design. As I am also a performer, my fine art is assemblage, and I've worked in the film industry for many years and was the design producer on an HGTV show a few years ago. Gosh, I'm way ahead of where I thought I'd be. We also want to do what we're calling now as Friday Night Lights. You can just keep moving on. I'm way ahead of you. Drought-tolerant landscaping. Oh, you know what? I'll just stay. Of course, everything that you're seeing here is drought-tolerant. I'm sure you guys are probably pretty aware of these kinds of plants. My fear years ago that it was just cactuses and succulents. It's not. There are a lot of drought-tolerant plants that are beautiful and vibrant. I want to, of course, invite very, very creative landscape architects to do the work. Again, everything in the finest form of artistic excellence. And I also have a pet peeve with many public spaces that doesn't, often in the United States especially, not so much in Europe, but they don't seem to invite you in. Sometimes you'll find a little pocket, but I want the entire space to be very welcoming and very creatively engaging. So here are some gathering places, as I'm calling them. Again, these are all pictures that I've gathered over the past year to indicate the kinds of directions that we're interested in going. The point here is to engage the public and to promote creativity, to promote groups of people gathering together, and also to encourage the people that are coming for voice lessons and coming to learn about music writing, and the people who are participating in new theatrical works. We want to be encouraging new composers and writers and artists to do new work with us. We're hoping to have different programs that bring youth. We're very interested in disadvantaged youth, and we're also very interested in reaching out to seniors that are in nursing homes, in different facilities where they can't get out and see art. We'd like to send teams out in trios and groups to sing and to engage them. These again are the landscaped pavilions that I was calling the berms that house the virtual reality unit and the sustainability pavilion for education. They're going to be a lot more rounded. These pictures are a little bit more along the lines of what I'm envisioning, what we're envisioning. You can just keep going. These slides can. This is an example. In front of the two pavilions, we want to have, if we're able, depending on where we are located, a small amphitheater. To do small concerts, not loud. We're not interested in being that loud, but we are aware of zoning and knowing that within a certain amount of feet you have to, really prepare. Again, these are just indications of the style of how we want to use those pavilions. In the facility, we want to stay away from difficult ways to get around because we want to encourage the handicapped and people in wheelchairs to be able to function. So there'd be ramps up to the top, and part of the reason we want to have them landscaped is that people can sit up on top there and create and watch the concerts, although there will be sustainable. I think the amphitheater is right after this, if I'm not mistaken. Yes. So you can imagine a small amphitheater near the berms, as that sort of indicates. You can just keep going. And we'd want to have landscaped seating, encouraging picnics, Also encouraging children's puppetry classes and parties and outdoor theater as well. One of the primary functions of our design for both the residences and the art park and the theater is to have rentable event spaces so that everything is designed with the idea that corporate entities could bring seminars and conferences, that we could have different kinds of fairs, different kinds of. Now we're at the covered. Now we're at the covered walkways, for shade. You got the idea about everything being, event rentable, which financially will sustain our 501c3. So covered walkways, we want them to be done by artists. And there's a form of art that I have been brewing in my head. You can hang on this one for a little bit, that I'm calling dapple pavilions. And with the solar art, most of that will be lit up at night, but during the day, I want to use the sunlight to create art. So the dapple pavilions will be laser etched materials that people can walk through. All of the walkways that are shaded. Now you can move forward with this kind of laser etching. And so that when you're walking through during the day, you'll see patterns and you'll see dappling and creating, looks like this.
I think this is a wonderful idea.
Am I going too long now?
It's fabulous. Here's a couple thoughts that spring to mind. There have been projects here in the past where they were planning to do residence for artists that was part of an affordable housing project.
Yeah.
I think that got scuttled during the recession, or I'm not quite sure exactly, but that would definitely be something. Obviously it's not our department, but that might be one way to approach. Since you're providing housing for artists, it might be part of an affordable housing approach or something like that.
We're going to be doing 30% affordable housing.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah,
And
the
then
city's, sorry to
the
interrupt.
art, we're not, it's basically, we'd love to see the art when you're ready. Obviously it's quite a bit out,
It is.
But it's exciting to see this, and I think, for Palm Springs, it would be terrific, and, it would be great. And
Absolutely.
when you got a spot, come show it.
I'm not sure we can be much help to you at this point in the process.
I know, as I said.
And we do appreciate hearing about it, but.
I guess just for the, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I just going to say we do have some
To
more
wrap
of
up
the
at 5.
agenda, yeah.
Okay, yeah, got
Well,
it.
as I said, this was just an introduction. I want you guys to, we're planting a seed,
Yeah.
We
That's
hope to
great.
break ground in 3 to 5 years, so it's far out. But
I have just three comments. One, what's great is that the city is making a park, which is supposed to sort of create new forms of audience engagement, including an outdoor amphitheater and a sculpture park. So perhaps you can see how that one goes. Two, this is just aware that there has been there are a number of artists who are concerned about their legacy. Mostly the visual artists that work at museums have talked to some people, and there has been a movement to create artist trusts where artists who aren't very, very, very wealthy can pool their money together and create an artist trust that allows them to then sort of care for their art. And I just wonder if that sort of model might be something you might want to look into. Another thing, and again, I don't know too many people, but it's something I know that is happening. It's a conversation among living artists right now.
That's
who
a
are
great idea. Thank you for
getting
sharing
older.
that.
Yeah.
And another final thing is, I know there are a lot of advocacy groups for elderly housing. It's one of the biggest problems in the world. Taiwan and Singapore are actually very, very, very good at creating amazing spaces for older people to live. But I would encourage you to also look at, perhaps you already have, advocacy groups like Enterprise Community Partners that actually give grants and help you create financing for creative projects, really thinking whole life about what lower income, or people with restricted incomes, what kind of housing they can develop. So I would just encourage you to look at those places.
Can you
as
mention
well.
the name of that?
It's called Enterprise Community Partners.
Okay.
And they have a number of granting programs, financing programs. They basically provide grants for projects just like this. And I know they are national. And they're, anyway, as you continue on, I hope you can find partners like that.
Thank you.
Yeah, we've done a lot of research in related areas, but we're very glad to have that suggestion.
Yeah, this is more of a preventative, like we're, just trying to get the word out so that we could learn about what obstacles might be in our way, or like what to avoid, or like how to go about things the proper way so that we don't hit any roadblocks. Like that's really like the whole point of it. But thank you so much.
So you're not thinking of a gated community?
No.
You just try to provoke them.
A little sarcasm. We have a harder.
As long as they're
However,
dappled. I would just say, I don't know if they really want advice on that, Jay would know better, but I mean, can people just like meet with people in the planning department and have like brainstorming
We've
sessions?
already done
or-
all of that.
Yeah.
You
Or
have?
we've started with,
Okay.
yeah, you're about 5th or 6th in the
Okay.
process.
Well, and we are in the Department of Economic and Community Development, and
Yeah.
we see, but we are often towards the end of the process. I mean, we can't, we can't do the funding for the
Yeah.
housing or even the park, but then
Yeah.
we would love to be involved when you are ready to
Thank
put
you.
some art.
Yeah, the city's been great. Lisa Middleton, we met with first, and she directed us to Mayor Pro Tem, and we met with the Director of Planning, Flynn Vegg, and then they directed us to Jay. And so, so here we are.
And we've been working with the Cultural Center and,
Yes.
as I said, the Desert Arts Council.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll have our
Thank you.
501c3 under the umbrella of the California Desert Arts Council to start. They've already offered that, so they're guiding
good.
us through the application
Okay.
process right now.
And financially, several years down the road, I think our interest with you will be bringing in artists to commission them for various things.
Yeah.
Great.
Good.
Bring them.
Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank
I
you,
just
and thank you
wrote
for being
my
honest.
application for my apartment. I'm not quite sure what my artistic endeavor is,
Oh,
but
you
knowing
have a
that I
lot
have
of
this
them.
reason to.
As long as you're a lover of art.
Yeah, we've decided that we
Gallery
also want to
owner.
find people who've never had the chance because they were married for many years, who've always dreamed of doing art.
Right. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you. Very nice.
Okay. Um, Okay.
The discussion
Since,
item.
right, the discussion items. Obviously, the
Madam
city's
Chair, can we
anniversary
take a
events.
2-minute break?
Sure,
2 minutes?
yes.
I need to.
And have some more apples and honey.
Every Christmas, to the Christmas party, I suspect a lot of them won't like us though. Yeah. You know what I mean? Where you kind of, that makes sense.
So these are mostly reports from subcommittees. And of course, the most immediate event is the 30th anniversary celebration. So Tracy, if you want to just tell us some of the things that have been added, you might talk about the mural throwdown idea, which I think is.
So, Russell, you were going to talk to Michael Brown. Did you have an update on that? The mural?
I don't. I've not heard back from text and voice message, but we have a meeting coming up on Monday.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So I
As to
reached
when
out
it will be, the Virgin site would be
Well,
available.
No, what Tracy is referring to is we're considering doing the mural throwdown as part of the October 11th and 14th celebration. Rather than using Virgin site, we want to use the walls inside the pit as a more
I put
appropriate.
it as a suggestion because I've been by there again and they've torn up that whole Virgin site again.
Well, yeah, the Virgin site, they're in the process of getting all of that stuff that's on the site off of it. So I need to get the timeline from Michael
It
Braun.
looks like they're digging all new stuff there. Like it was all kind of cleaned up a lot and now it's like really broken apart again. When I
I
went
was
by
past
there.
there today, it seemed
Oh,
pretty
really?
static in the way it's.
Yeah, it was
Also,
this was
the
last Friday.
pit will now have a house in it, which, I mean, I think doing something on those walls would be well worth it because you really see them as you walk around. But if they're having tours of the house or something, they might not want someone painting there.
Yeah, well, the house is under construction now, so I don't know what, I'll find out
It's
from
going
Michael
to
the
be,
timeline.
they're going to be tours during Modernism Week preview, which is October.
The next week.
The next weekend, yeah. So, I mean, I suppose if we got the murals done during the weekend of the 14th, that might not interfere, but that's
Whatever
another
works.
person we have to check with.
Yeah, whatever works for you guys.
Yeah. Okay, and then we have
So-
a contract with Sarah.
Yeah, so Sarah just signed her contract, which is awesome. I requested the city to close more of the streets, so in case we do the chalk art crosswalk, so they didn't, she hasn't gotten back to me yet, but she didn't see an issue with that, so we would also be closing Museum Drive, but, allowing access to both parking garages, so it'd be like a short closure.
Right.
Kind of like in front of the museum
Right.
plus a smidge.
And if you've noticed, they're doing the curb cuts for crosswalks. They're going to be lighted crosswalks. But we thought it might be fun during this celebration to have some chalk artists show what you could put in a crosswalk, rather than just, sort of trying to explain the idea to the engineering department. It might be fun to see if we could do it. And a little later on this agenda, it also mentions that the city council was talking about doing crosswalks around arenas because Indian Canyon's going to be two ways, and they're worried a little bit about people crossing the street. And someone said, should they be celebrating Pride because of arenas? And I made some copies of.
Can we stick with the
Okay.
anniversary stuff?
But it's the same
idea.
theme, right?
Okay, great.
Okay, keep going.
So we're going to start launching our social media today with a little initial video that Sarah and Arslan came up with. They're going to make some edits to it from what we talked about. So then they're going to do like 4 videos over the next few weeks. So they started with this drone shot, which is cool. It shows the babies. And then they have a lot of other footage that, we're gonna zoom in closer and closer on the street. So I'll share that video and send it, when they send the update, share it with you. And then I can give
It's
you
really cute.
a couple of items, Jay, for your notes. So this is our map so far of our street fair. So we walked it last week.
So this is that block from the museum, like where along the pit? That
Yeah,
block, okay.
Go a couple of
baby
pages into it,
adjacent,
there's,
the Museum Way. And I'll give this to Jay so everybody can have a copy of it. So there isn't room to have, if anyone's doing events there, the street's somewhat narrow. You can't have tents opposite one another. There's really not space. So we're just going to have this long walking area between, up to the museum. So it will kind of take up that adjacent baby space. So,
I love that, baby adjacent.
yes. And then, and we'll have food and our DJ. The city actually might be providing our electricity for free, which is super
That's
cool.
nice.
They didn't put plugs in those new lights, so we have to bring a generator in. So we have like a show run here now. Anne graciously has lent us things, so our rentals are gonna be much cheaper.
And don't ask why I own 10 picnic tables with.
Yes, it's so great, because I had looked at picnic tables on the rentals. I thought, oh, that would be so much fun to have picnic tables, and Anne said
But
she
that's
has picnic
actually why I
tables.
bought them at the time, because renting them was pretty
Yeah,
expensive.
they were
And it was
pricey.
just worth buying them, so.
Yeah, you could get yeah. So, okay, so. So Thursday, we're going to have our unveiling at the museum. We're gonna have a small reception. We're probably going to have our Cookie Lady cookie
If
giveaway.
we could have the cookies ready, that
Yeah.
would be great.
Yeah, that's no problem.
I was talking with people at the museum yesterday, and to actually have like wine, you have to get it through their restaurant, and it turns out to be fairly expensive. So we really, and plus we're in the museum, which means that no one can take the food or drink outside of the education space. So it might be less of a reception and more of just a unveiling of the map, and
Oh, yeah, no problem.
it just was
And
getting
then-
to be thousands of dollars. Just
Well, we could also, Dead or Alive is gonna, we want to have them, they're gonna be one of our vendors, like a drink vendor, but they're doing all non-alcoholic fun drinks, so maybe they could do that.
the problem is that now
Thursday.
now that there's a restaurant in the museum.
Oh, you can't.
They sort of have to use them.
Oh, wow, okay.
Unless it's something that's totally out of their
Realm
realm.
of
So
expertise, okay. So anyway, we can do the cookies.
oh, good.
So here's just we have a whole mock-up of the day, so we're gonna start at 7 a.m. and then
This is all on Thursday, October 11th.
Thursday is our unveiling at the museum in the education space, our little mini reception, our proclamation.
And we talked last meeting about having our regular meeting at 4 o'clock that day. And it seems to be fine to do it at the museum because it's open to the public, and starting at 4, it's free because of the city So, and just, you know, a short meeting, and then adjourn to doing this sort of, I don't know if there's going to be a ribbon in front of Sarah's map or what, but something that
Oh, yeah, we
sort
could
of
figure out
launches it.
how to launch it. And then her map is gonna be in the museum until Sunday night.
In the education space?
Yeah, so we're not gonna have it outside. We're gonna have an activity on Sunday in that space that the museum is gonna do, and then they're going to do the like an art scavenger hunt, and they're gonna do an activity outside. And then hopefully, and then I have us as having a booth at this Public Arts Commission also. So these are our activities. They're all going to be centered around public art.
What's the windmill?
Oh, the T-shirt.
Oh, right.
T-shirt
That's the
company.
company,
T-shirt
right.
That's the
Got
name of
it.
the company, I think.
Got it.
So I have a marketing schedule. I mean, I guess just ask me questions, guys, if you want, or
So-
I can't,
can go
Yeah,
over
go ahead.
every single detail.
Right.
I can't remember, did we decide on some kind of card with
A flyer,
information?
right.
Yeah, Sarah's
that's-
going to make, they're gonna make that.
So you'll have that for us?
We're not doing a postcard. We decided
Okay.
not to do a
All right.
But
postcard.
it will be a flyer, like a one-page?
Yeah, like a,
Because when we were talking earlier with Destination PSP, they have a booth at the Village Fest, and they would hand these out for us. And they suggested the week before, so whatever that is, the 4th or something, and then on the 11th, all advertising the Sunday event to get people. So,
Have we thought about doing just like a print ad in the Desert Sun or anything like that? Is that something that's possible, and does anyone think that would be effective?
I had brought one of the sticky things they put on the paper. you
that
know.
actually is a great idea.
Do you have it, or did Sarah take it?
Sarah has
Sarah
it.
took it. You know, when there's
The
and
sticker that
we
you
could
put
do
on
that,
there.
and you can even print on the back, and it could say, "Bring this," you know, for a T-shirt. And I think those really stand out. The ones where they fold it over all you want to do is take it off so you can read the newspaper. But
Yeah.
so
there's
Sarah's going to find out what
one-
it cost.
Yeah, and I mean, it's a slow time of year, and in my experience, sometimes those advertising spots are actually available, you know, because it's just not as busy. So I think if we have a nice conversation with the people over there, hopefully we can have something that would work for us. I think that would be well worth the expense. You know, printing postcards is, I don't know, it feels like,
There's always the issue of getting them in people's hands.
That's
right, getting
and
in people's
that's
hands. And
happened
I
to
just
us a
think
lot.
between, social media will actually be more effective, and then just print ad in our local paper.
I don't know, yeah, the news, I just know from other groups who advertising like single one-day events, and they seem to think that the ads in the Desert Sun are very effective. So,
Okay, well,
so from my
let's
perspective,
ask
but I think you can't
Sarah
just
to-
run one. I think you need to, you know, it's like usually like it's like a 3 or 4, like so people see it more than once. That's generally the sense that I get.
Well, Friday is the section that has the weekend section that has things that are going on that weekend, and I think.
So maybe like Friday, Sunday, Fridays, and or
Well,
something.
No, it
no,
would
they
just have
just
to
do
be
the one Friday before the Sunday.
Just right before, 2 days
Yeah.
before.
But I think people do look at it like what's happening this weekend, so
Okay.
we should try to get, I'll see if I can get a listing, but why don't you ask Sarah to see what it would cost to have an ad with, like, all the things that are gonna happen on Sunday, you know, make it sound like a real street festival.
She
And
is
the-
gonna use her street team to disperse small flyers. So, like we do with our rack card thing, but that she has a team that's gonna do that. So.
Oh, good.
Great.
I mean, I have a whole marketing thing here
Right.
from her.
Okay.
This is exciting.
It is. It's very cool.
You have done so much work. I
Yes,
have
I
to
have.
thank you. Like, it's really,
And
really fantastic.
Madalena said that we're up to 600 people following us on Facebook, and I think maybe even more on Instagram.
Over
And-
700 on Instagram.
And I've just been hearing from people all the time. They say, except for Curry, who was upset because he wasn't on there, but that shows that he's, he's looking
People
at
are
it,
looking,
right?
right.
You saw the photo that we all thought was so amazing with the dog. I'm like, oh my God, that dog is so cute.
I know, but he thought that it kind of takes away from the mural. I can understand that.
That was Friday.
Tracy, are there particular things that you need people to take charge of or be sure and be there, or?
Well, yeah, if we can all make sure we're there both days, and then I guess we could figure out, well, we said we were gonna do the street fair on the Thursday before, so maybe if we had two commissioners, like one at the PSP and one at the city.
You mean just like giving out the flyers
Yeah,
and
like
stuff?
talking it up.
Yeah,
And then,
I've done that before.
If you have flyers, you can give them to me or just leave them at the museum. It'd be nice to leave some there. Yeah, we have some
Yeah.
areas for that.
And the education department at the museum is really working with us, and I'm sure that they could. And then people who just come to the museum on that Thursday night but aren't interested in our little map and stuff, but they're all greeted by someone called an ambassador who points out things to see in the museum, and I think they would give those out on Thursday.
And actually, yeah, that's a great idea. And also, it would be great if once whatever the printed piece is or whatever the digital file is, if you can send that to me with just like a little blurb, we can include it in the members' emails, and those go out by every other week. So
of things going on, right?
yeah, so just if you want to send me just those digital files whenever they're ready, at least 3 weeks before, then I can be sure to include it.
And the education department has a mailing list because they were always in touch with all the schools and all the colleges and everything else. So they'll send out this digital one too.
so I guess what more help I guess we need is with the mural throwdown. So I need help with the mural throwdown. And then if we do the crosswalk.
We need a chalk artist, which nobody's come up with one.
Really?
And yet the Rotary does that whole thing. So,
You need one, or
well,
do you need a group of them?
Well, the Backstreet Art Space does a regular chalk art evening.
they do?
We did one chalk art event.
Oh, one?
Yes, but I
You
know
were
that
there.
artist, I know the artist
Oh,
from that, so I was
okay.
gonna say, if you only need one, I do know one.
Well, two things.
Yeah. So I'll reach out to
Destination-
him just to see if he's.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Destination PSP would like to do a chalk art on their sidewalk every month and really feature this person. But this idea of doing the crosswalks is really just for somebody to be imaginative. You know, I don't think kids have to participate in everything, especially if we're doing a mural thing somewhere else. But I think in terms of having, I worry how people are going to like get in and out of the pit easily, even to see this house. I understand that the elevator's working, so you can go down. But if you could find out if it's safe on the Virgin site,
Yeah.
that would make a lot more sense. People
Yeah,
could
well, I'll
even-
check for both locations, the pit or the Virgin site with Michael Braun on Monday and get back to you
Okay.
and help
then
with that part of it.
we were talking about asking a couple of the artists who've done a mural or doing one in Palm Springs.
Yeah, we would actually have, even with the two mural artists we were in conversation with for doing St. Paul's Church, and then Ryan Campbell is the third, gives us a nice cross-section of ethnic demographics. So.
And if he can't do it, I suggest you ask Curry Mendez.
Is this, are we pretty far along on this and just looking for the space, or?
Well,
It's mostly,
I just got worried because it was so
Yeah.
deconstructed. That's why it's.
I think that's part of cleaning it up,
Right.
so I hope.
Do
No, I
we,
just
do we
mean-
need to
Just an
have
idea.
another meeting, not here, to discuss these specifics?
Maybe,
Should we
'cause
maybe
it-
just have another meeting to help you
Subcommittee,
out and
like-
talk about these
Because
other
it's really just
questions?
an idea at this point
Yeah.
of having teams of,
Yeah, yeah, I think we should just, because
think
we have
you're
so
right.
many things to do and we have like not much time left. But, it could be interesting to maybe talk to some of the artists who are involved with like Coachella Walls or something like that. So maybe we should try to meet with you independent, like just so
Yeah.
we don't break any Brown rules and just talk prior to this, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think that sounds like a good idea. Yeah, because it's a lot. Yeah, so it's an awful lot going on. So that's kind of what I want to make sure.
What we started with, I feel is really under control.
Mhm.
But the additional items, I want to make sure.
right. And on these lists.
Or off the table. Yeah, but
Yeah.
or we just it sounds like we need to just decide like we're going to proceed or not with some of the
Right, but it can be
the
the subcommittee.
crosswalk or yeah,
So,
but it could be the subcommittee that decides that.
Okay,
Yeah, it's coming up.
okay, so,
I will reach out, so we will get this.
And before we move on, if commissioners, please remember to use your microphones.
okay, so Commissioner Brenner, you want to just tell us what you learned from Madalena?
I did have a meeting with Madalena this week, just to kind of touch base with her, to see where she is. And she's, I think, been very good at just continuing to get the postings up there. And yes, we're up over 700 people on Instagram, which doesn't sound great, except for when we came from 0. One of the things I have asked her to do for the next meeting is to provide a cheat sheet that we all have. I said, how can we be better in promoting what you're doing? So, for me, mainly, who is the social media neophyte.
Naive. Right?
Naive or whatever. And she said one of the things is, in addition to liking, any time that you can write a comment helps with the engagement. And then on Instagram, I went, well, like, how do you share Instagram? Because I know how to hit share on Facebook.
Right.
But with Instagram, that you can send it to people. So I'm trying to develop my list so that I can just automatically send those things to people that Instagram would be fitting for them. She does, now that we are all back together, really want to work with each of us in our schedules to do a video just about what art means to us. And she's also working on putting together a video. I don't know if it's going to be utilized on the 11th or 14th, but that is the compilation of the art that she has.
I think on the 11th, that the education department at the museum said that they could probably run it on a loop.
Okay. Okay, so she's hoping to have that, and if there are commissioners that want to participate, again, she would be happy to work with your schedule to do a little interview with you to include you in that or in other things upcoming.
Sounds
And
good.
I think she's working directly with Sarah a little bit, but just know that she is there and available for you guys to use however you want to direct her.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, I made sure, I said, I don't know if this connection's going on, but when I was at this meeting today, I wanted to make sure that you guys knew that, and I think she knows Sarah, or they.
I introduced her.
They introduced?
Yeah,
but-
so we had a meeting together.
Okay,
And then she wanted kind of a whole schedule, so we
Right.
have this schedule.
perfect.
And yes, we had a great meeting, the three of us.
Yeah, so just, yeah, she's there, ready, willing, and able. She has some ideas, but also to take direction with any way that she can help promote this through the social media.
And we
think-
thought it would be a good combo, we all have a different voice, so she has a different voice than Sarah has, and so I think that is a really good mix and match, so we kind of,
Okay, good.
and we're gonna share like crazy.
And she does have a really big inventory of images that she just is letting out one at a time, but it might even be helpful anytime if you look at it, if there's anything in particular that you wanted to use to promote or.
And then I
Well,
think Sarah shared with her already the images that she took for the art map that
It's
are.
really interesting
are
that
the sculptures without the background.
they
Can I make-
managed
can I
to
make a
strip it
recommendation?
down so that you just see the sculpture. They just took away all the backgrounds. So, you know, again, if we were going to use it on a T-shirt or something, now it's just a clean image of the.
Can I make a recommendation regarding social media? Instagram takeovers are a common way to build an audience, so perhaps you can ask Sarah and her team to take over our social media account for that day. That's just a way to. The other thing is, I did hear a comment from someone who follows us that they would like to see more diversity in the images on our Instagram page.
Yeah, if I could piggyback that, and I'm glad to hear that. I haven't been on social media in a while for personal reasons, family. But the flip side of that is, I'd like to see something in writing. At one point, Madalena turned in some statistics, and I think I'd requested that at some point in time. But I think for logistic and historical purposes, it's
This might
important
be
to
a
have something
good
in writing.
topic for the meeting we have at the museum.
Would
A
you
whole
like
thing.
for her to attend that meeting?
I think that, you know, because
Yes.
we're not going to do a lot of planning for the future at a, you know, a meeting off-site and stuff. But that's why I think reviewing the year in social media and what she's trying to do and what she's accomplished, and I
But,
think that's the kind of thing we could do while we're meeting at the museum.
You know,
I'll ask her to prepare a report and bring that to that meeting.
in monthly or quarterly or something, in writing. And at one point, I'd asked about a comparison, and I know it hasn't been a year yet, if you recall. But for logistic and historical purposes, if we want to do this again with a social media person, we need to be able to back that up
And
with
also,
data.
we're going to need a lot of reports from Sarah at the end. I mean, of exactly what she spent and how many people and everything. And after this event, I think is a good time to look back on the social media. And it actually might be almost a year for her.
Yeah, I'm kind of even confused where we are on her contract. Because remember, there was at one point, and then we were going to extend it, I think, at the end of June, so.
I think we did extend it, and she's in like about a month or 2 or 3 into the.
I'll double check.
Okay, like that it's just through the season or whatever it is?
I think it was maybe through the end of the calendar year.
Okay,
And so in October and November is a good time to decide.
if we're, yeah, perfect.
So I think she's doing a great job.
Yeah.
And she's visible in the community.
Yeah.
And the other thing she does is she posts everything. There's all these Facebook pages like I Love Downtown Palm Springs and Palm Springs Artists and Palm Springs Main Street, you know, businesses. And so she just posts all of our stuff on those as well. And that's where we're getting people who wouldn't look
Right.
at the art page.
Right, she was
So-
telling me like one of her greatest days ever was seeing one of our posts shared and her hashtags picked up or something like
Yeah,
that.
I
And it's
know.
like, oh, and she gets so she loves us so much. I know you're watching, Madalena, but that she just really gets excited about what's going on. She's
Yes, she
so
does
thrilled about what's
watch. That's
happening
what-
for the 30th anniversary event, and so yeah, you get that stuff to her. So, and I will have her there with a report on
And we
for
need
next
some
month.
hard data.
Yep.
On the next question is the crosswalks. Could I ask the mural committee to just consider whether they, unless there's another committee since it's on the ground, the idea would be to talk to Lisa Middleton or JR, or someone on the city council who said there ought to be crosswalks done, you know, more than just white lines. And what I thought we might propose to them is, instead of trying, it can't possibly be done before Pride Weekend, which is the first weekend in November. So perhaps we could have a couple of proposals and let the public vote on them or respond to them, so that I think having artists design crosswalks on arenas is probably easy to do. And all we're saying is don't just paint a few stripes, let's mix it up. But the ones in front of the museum, it's sort of if we can throw out this idea, maybe someone in the city or the park designers will say, yeah, the crosswalk should be more interesting.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I can think of a number of artists who we can discuss offline who are in the area and who do design, and who actually do design. And I think this would be a really great opportunity to engage with the designers who live and work here. So,
Right, exactly.
and,
Or someone
people
like Brian Campbell, whose work,
or Jim Iserman, for example, who designs patterns for, Trina Turk. And, you'll see. So I think there are like a number of people like that who work here and in the community and would be really great,
And, if the city let us paint on the crosswalks in front of the museum, again, it could be for a year, and then somebody else can do it. The idea is, if you can't have some art in front of the museum,
Right.
Where can you?
where can you, right?
Yeah, it would basically incorporate it like our temporary mural program, so it would have a period of time. So when we discuss or agree to meet within the next week or so to discuss the mural throwdown, let's also sort of gel on this a little bit.
Yeah, because
Is
someone
this,
maybe they could do, the reason I thought maybe they could do it in chalk that weekend was people would notice and talk to them and,
Right.
And it wouldn't last very long, but it would.
Does doing something on the street add another layer of like approval processes? Because it's like the
No,
streets
actually,
department, not
no.
just
The
planning
people who
department.
were here from Destination PSP that want to do it on their sidewalk, they found out that unless you block the sidewalk, there's no one that has to give you permission.
for a temporary thing.
It doesn't matter. You can do what
But
you
I'm talking
want
about
to
the like
sidewalk.
arenas. You're talking about a permanent thing.
Th-
right?
that-
I could
that's
just
the-
share a little information. The stars we have on the sidewalk have to have a certain coefficient of friction so that people don't slip on them. And I believe it's similar for in the street with crosswalks, that it'd have to be a material that's not slippery for cars.
But as far as doing something in chalk, apparently, nobody cares.
Like a drawing. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean,
Like a
because it
sketch,
isn't
okay.
very permanent.
Got it.
So the idea at this point would be to have an artist paint a couple of really cool things, and then people would say, oh, why should we just put white lines? Why not do this? So.
Yeah, I love the idea.
Yeah.
I just think it could turn into this, like with our bridge project over the wash, that it turns into like a 9-year project
No.
because streets are involved, and then it turns out it's like a state highway or something.
Okay, so let me tell you my other idea here. Our next real meeting is on November 8th, and I think that that's where we should be looking forward to the things we want to do for the rest of the year. And I'd like to suggest that we invite the partners that we're working with, the education department at the museum, the people from St. Paul's, the school district, Louisa Castrodale, because we need to find a way to do something that encompasses the Martin Luther King student exhibit with Black History Month, with the fact that I think, unless someone feels strongly about it, to take the place of the juried art show in this block of time next February, where, according to the lease with the Desert Arts Center, we have the use of it. But someone suggested before that we could do either a big student art show or the best of these other, and it could stay on exhibit you know, for 3 weeks or 4 weeks, as opposed to like the Martin Luther King one would be at the church, and then it would go somewhere in the library that I never did figure out where it was. But I think we need to talk to Louisa. So either perhaps each subcommittee could talk to the partners that we have, or if you guys are willing, if we could have a real study session, as in no actions, on October 25th, which is halfway between, and see if we could come up with some of these plans for how to have an art show that covers a lot of these things we want to do, but, for example, leaves it to the school district to solicit the art. Maybe somebody from the museum curates it this time instead of all of us and picks the, but the main thing is it could go on display to the public.
Madam Chair, do you think there may be some pushback as it
From,
relates to the juried art show from the community and the Martin Luther King?
I'm saying we should have the Martin Luther King one, but that we can't do it all ourselves
Right,
and
I
frame
understand,
everything
I
and,
understand. So we should have it.
yes.
Okay.
But what I'm saying is it should transfer to the Desert
Right, I
Art Center instead of
The
doing a
church.
juried art show. Unless there's someone on the commission who feels strongly about doing it. My reading of our ordinance is that we're only supposed to do exhibits and things like that if they are paid for by a contribution, by donations.
Well, I think Commissioner Merrigan and Commissioner Murray and I had this conversation of doing the student art shows and then the best of those going to the juried arts show, so it gave those students an opportunity to have their artwork with the artist, and keeping the juried art show, but some way, rather than, because at some point we were doing 3 or 4 shows, and it was taking, that's what staff time was mainly framing these things and hanging these shows over and over. So to try to consolidate it in some way, but then still maintain the integrity of the Martin Luther King, because that's sort of a cornerstone of what we've done, and it's very important. And I don't know why we can't have a short, that it's always been at the church for a part of that, but then move it to a part of the juried art show for the winners of that, and then having the juried art show.
But do we have anyone who's interested in undertaking to run the juried art show?
Well, the big problem is that we don't have staff.
Right.
Yeah, that's why I had come up with that superhero idea.
Right.
To have like one show that's superheroes that could be how people define superheroes. And then we kind of bounced off that, having the kids' shows, the best of the kids' shows be in this larger show. But it could be just have.
The best of the kids' shows.
Yeah, it could just be the
student
best of the
So if there's a
students.
Martin Luther King Day exhibit, it could, you know, it happens to be, February is the month that we're supposed.
January is.
Right, but no, February is the month
Right,
that
right,
our
right.
month, and it's also
Exactly.
Black History Month. So
Yes.
if the Martin Luther King show could go to be open to the public for more than one day, I think that would be great.
Madam Chair, it would certainly be worth discussing
I
So
think we should have
at
a
our
study
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 session.
session.
Yeah.
So why don't we do that, and let's all touch base with the person that, you know, for example, Louisa Castrodale, who's always done the school district side of that, and figure out how to do it, if there's enough.
Do you want to still chase that down? 'Cause
Well,
you were.
The reason I asked about pushback, you know, there was some from the community that perhaps would have been here for public comments if we were to lose the Martin Luther King.
We're not.
I-
We're
and I
losing
know,
the
I'm glad
juried
you-
art show.
Well,
We can, I don't know that there's a group that particularly cares about that. But if
Cares about what?
The juried art show.
oh, okay.
Madam
But
Chair,
if
I
we
bel-
have it at our, let's discuss it at our
Yes,
study
yeah,
session.
yes.
And on November 8th, let's take action on whether we're going to have, which shows we're going to have. how we're going to use our month that we have, and who we're going to do it with.
Okay, so just for clarification, we can't use city funds, or staff, rather, to work the Martin Luther King exhibit. Hanging the exhibit is what we use staff for, and also we used the walls to hang the exhibits on, or the pictures on.
You mean the city provide, you mean, you're talking about the church?
Right.
You're
at
talking
the
about the
church.
church.
Right.
Yeah, those
So the city
walls
brought
are the
those
city's.
walls
City
in?
brought the walls,
Okay.
and
Those temporary walls.
Jen
right.
would hang.
If you would like to propose that, out of our budget, we pay Jen to do that show, we could discuss that. But at the moment, she doesn't work for us anymore.
Right, I
She works for Jay.
I
So,
just needed clarification.
But also,
that's all.
we don't, I mean, my sense was always that we were not allowed to hire someone to do that because that was part of Jen's job. So if Jen's not part of us anymore, then in my view, that frees us to hire someone to hang it, right?
The reason
Is
I'm-
that correct, Jay? Or would you understand it that way?
That's possible.
Okay.
The Martin Luther King Committee meets on the 22nd. That's why I'm kind of pushing.
well, then
September-
I think
September
you
22nd.
should,
22nd of September.
okay.
Yeah.
Why don't you talk with them about what parts of it they would really like to see? And for example, we could find someone to work with the committee and with Louisa Castrodale to
Mhm.
put this show together. And it's, you know, it's been done for a number of years now, so you sort of know how many pieces and how many panels and,
The mayor's been good about giving us direction. He's on the committee, so he'll be at
Okay.
that meeting.
and
I
he
assume.
is
Yeah.
very into art, so.
Okay.
Oh, yes.
I have some ideas about the juried art show, but we can,
We'll do it
I'm
on the
happy to discuss
25th.
those in
Okay.
subcommittee, right?
Can you get us a room on the 25th? I think we might have to start next door, because the library commission meets at 3, I think, on that.
So what time are you proposing on Thursday, October 25th?
4? Is that,
That's okay for me.
okay? And we will, you know, we'll post it as a study session, but we won't expect a lot of guests, because it really is going to be, nothing's going to get voted on, but we're going to figure out all these things. So if we survive the 14th of October, then we'll decide what's next. Okay. And on the 14th, we'll send out a notice that it is a meeting of the Public Arts Commission. And so if we had some guests and they wanted to talk, that would be fine. It's, okay. Now, we just have 2 things that are sort of action items. And one of them is, several people asked last time what our current budget was, because the last time when the council approved our budget, it was at $500 and some odd thousand. This is the printout is the current budget, and the only difference is that they have put $283,000, $36.30. I have no idea why, into unallocated. Everything else was unallocated, was allocated into things like office supplies and just little things. So I took just big categories of things, and just so that like we'd have some idea of how much we had to spend on, for example, art for the downtown park. The 370 is before the basically $20,000 for Michael Bernberg was taken out. And the $3,000 that has been encumbered is for Madalena for the rest of the, I guess she has 3 months more. Other than that, all these budget categories can be moved around, and this is the total that they come to.
Okay, so-
And Jay is promised to get us a list of where the income came from, because there's clearly been some income over the summer.
We should hope.
Well, no, look, there's $283,000 that wasn't there in May.
That was in the, that's in the unallocated.
Right, but
I
that's,
see.
it wasn't there at
Okay.
all.
So my question is just, so if we have unallocated 283 and public art acquisition 264,
Mhm.
doesn't that mean the sum of those we could use to acquire art?
Well, I
Like
put,
530?
yes, we could, it could all be for art. But
Okay.
right now,
They're just in separate pots, but I
Right.
mean, in our heads, I mean, if we have that money there.
right.
That
And
we could use
I
for
already
art.
bumped it up to 370
Mhm.
because we're not paying for staff and we're not going to spend money on some of these things.
Right.
But by the way, special department supplies and non-capital equipment and specialized equipment are for things like plaques and
Mm.
anything but the work of art, lighting, moving, whatever. And
Mhm.
then I left quite a bit under arts maintenance because we just don't know what we're going to need. And the rest sort of contractual services. And this is, you know, it's sort of a working budget, just, but
Mhm.
people were asking, well, do we have enough money to, you know?
So can we add to our study session maybe some time to discuss like a 5-year plan for larger scale public art projects? I know
That
I've
would
said
be
this
great.
many times, but I would really love us, I think our community, work in the community is very important. But this is actually a significant amount of money that can really shine light on
Right.
what is great about the city.
Absolutely.
And we have an opportunity not to spend it all at once, but to really think about how we want to see what we want to see in the city. So maybe we'll just add that to the study session.
And at the same time, when the mayor was doing the state of the city and spoke quite a bit about public art, he mentioned 5 developments that have really either started up again or are really nearing completion. The Andaz Hotel, something called Icon, something called something 64
Icons
at
on
the river.
Farrow, 64 at the Riviera, that's on Indian Canyon and Escuela.
And Miralon, Avalon.
North
whatever.
Indian Canyon.
So we're trying to find out how much money those projects have paid in and whether any of them will be requesting money for art. And then I'm going to make sure that we rewrite the public art ordinance so that developers have to tell us like within a year, because 15 years later is just a little hard to budget for. But so I feel as though we've been very, you know, we've sort of saved up this money and we should do a plan, but we always have to keep a little bit of a reserve for, but I think we need to get in touch with these developers now and say, okay, you know,
What's your plan,
What's
right?
your plan?
Yeah.
And, you know.
And maybe if they don't really have a plan, maybe say, you know, if you don't have a plan or if your site is not really open to the public, we'll leverage your money towards a much more prominent piece of art, and they can help take ownership of it.
That's
So maybe
true.
if it's in the park instead of being at Miralon, which nobody's gonna, you know,
Right.
the public isn't gonna go there, and then they get the bang for the buck.
And then you have the Dream Hotel, which is going to have a park, like an art park as part of it. So exactly, I think we have to do it in a way that says, we'll work with you if you really have a place and you want to do this. But if not, I like your idea of giving them some of the credit for, you know, and
Maybe we
it
start a
was
new
unusual for Michael Braun to know exactly how much he'd paid in, and then to his credit, probably spent twice that. But you know, he
Because they
knew.
redesigned the lighting, They added a lot of expense at the end just because he wanted it to really look great at night and everything. Because they changed the lights, how the things were being built, so it changed the lighting.
Okay,
of
so the
structure.
25th, if you think of things, actual topics, let me or Jay know, and we'll actually put some things on the agenda. Okay, we have one last thing, and it can be fairly short.
Let me clarify, Madam Chair, there is no need to move or make a motion on that last item?
On the budget?
I don't
Oh,
believe there is.
on the last one?
Right.
On the budget, no. It shouldn't have said, we actually don't get to approve this overall budget.
Review
Review.
the revised budget.
But now we have seen the revised budget, and now we're going to figure out, what categories we want to think about it in. Okay, the last thing on the agenda, this comes about because Commissioner Pritchard realized that Michael Bernberg's contract was due to expire. It's now in about...
It's set to expire on October the 4th. So we have sort of a two-part thing that we have to determine as far as the Michael Bernberg Commission. One is the location, because although we thought we had voted to move it from the Grit Art Pit where it's still approved to be placed, we didn't have a second to the motion, so it was not approved to move it up to the art park. So we have to determine if we want to move forward with approving it to move to the art park, or decide that we want to take alternative action to have it placed somewhere else in the city to be determined for the location. And we also need to make a vote on extending the contract for Michael Bernberg.
Dr. Reddy suggested that since we are buying this piece, we could ask him to go ahead and complete it, and then where it goes would be up to us. But we wouldn't have to try to decide it, in the next few weeks.
Yeah, and actually hearing that as a proposal, I think I would like to propose that we extend the contract for only 8 weeks so that the action would be taken by the artist to complete the piece. And then we could determine, I guess we would have to determine a delivery point if we had, do we have a place for it to be delivered to?
Well, I think we will, but, so I would make a motion that we ask Michael Bernberg to create the piece, that we extend his contract by 8 weeks, and that the Sites and Installations Committee come to us with a recommendation for where it should go.
I'll second the motion.
Thank you. I should add that I had a conversation with John Monahan, who owns the 500 building and who is a collector of Michael Bernberg's art. He had him do a few pieces for his home. And he said that he would be happy to install the piece on either the Indian Canyon or the Palm Canyon side, where it would be quite visible, for some extended period of time, because he was thinking of commissioning a piece of his own. And he would give us an easement to do it. But I think it's not something that we can decide quickly. So I think we should have the piece made, because otherwise it could be
Well, yeah,
next
for the
year.
motion, having the contract extended for an 8-week period, which instructs the artist to complete the contract, which
Right.
is make the piece, not ask the artist if he will.
Right.
But to instruct
Okay.
him to do it.
and not ask him really where he thinks it should go. I think he's,
We will determine that because we're buying it. That
Right.
was- Yeah.
so I thought that was good advice. Does anyone else want to discuss it, amend it? All right.
Yeah, because I think at this point, with this specific commission, we've sort of learned a lot of things on how to do commissions better moving forward. but this will be a way to get it completed, and we can determine for the city where is a good location for it and
Exactly. It's-
embrace it.
Yeah, I still haven't given up on the idea of moving it around. You know,
Right, and
from time to
construction sites,
time.
right.
Right.
Yeah, like we,
Movement,
like
change.
Right.
we moved the Coleman
There are some,
sculptures.
The
there,
what? The-
Yes, just the-
Just
we're
snap
going to
your
do that.
fingers and they
We're going
move,
to do
right?
that. All right.
Oh, right.
Oh, and a flatbed truck.
Do we have to vote?
Yes,
Yeah.
all those in favor of extending the contract, having the piece finished, and then making a decision on where it goes.
8 weeks.
8 weeks, extended for 8 weeks.
So we're voting on extending the contract for 8 weeks to have the piece completed.
Right.
We're not voting anything about location,
No.
right? Okay.
To be determined after it's,
So we're voting yes or no on that? Should we do an individual vote? Or,
I think, is there anyone, are there any no's? To
I'm gonna no for fun, yeah.
in
Not in
protest, or-
protest. Okay.
Do you want to storm out of the room
Um,
or?
Yes, everyone,
I missed it.
So I just want to make it, I just would like everyone to just, what's it called, a voice vote? Or
Yeah,
no,
Roll
you
call
mean
vote.
A roll call, a
Okay.
roll call vote.
yes,
Okay, got it.
Commissioner Brenner,
yes.
Commissioner Gladstone,
Nay.
Commissioner Merrigan,
Yes.
Commissioner Murray,
Yes.
Commissioner Pritchard,
Yes.
Vice Chair Yanni,
Yes.
Chair Sheffer.
Yes.
Motion passes 6 to 1.
Thank you.
Love
All right.
a little contention
What,
in there.
what Commissioner Pritchard started to talk about is possibly something that should be on our study session. And that is when I look back and think that we really didn't want to buy it originally. We wanted to display it for a certain amount of time, which amount of time, about half of it has run already, during which time the pit has become quite crowded. And we should not have rushed into buying it probably, but there didn't seem to be any other way to do it. We also left an awful lot of the arrangements to the artist, which, when you think about it, is probably not necessarily their strong point.
Yeah, and that specifically is something that we should address in our October 25th study session, is coming up with action plans for temporary art, certainly renting it and not buying all of these pieces, but
Right.
having a step-by-step process that we understand, that the artist will understand.
And that
we
the
can
city is
do things
willing
more
to go
efficiently.
along to.
Yeah.
And Mara, I think if you have some more information about a commissioning process for the park, also might be good to just talk about that a little bit.
I'll try to identify a number of different people who have helped other small cities manage similar kinds of programs.
And then also a little bit more about what goes into their contract. But this is one where we have to do it right. We have to have public input. We have to have, a good jury of some sort. And because it's going to be very prominent or one or more pieces, and we would like to pay for something significant. So we can't just go dash off a check to someone who's going to do it. Okay, are there any other comments or anything that anyone would like to?
I just have I just want to thank Commissioner Merrigan for all of the work on the 30th
yes.
anniversary.
It's very cool.
And bringing it was a vision that we had, but it's a vision that you made possible, so
And there
thank
will be
you.
cookies.
Yeah.
I just want to, I think it's hilarious that I brought this idea that I actually really felt strongly about, but if you think about it, it sounds really crazy, and that everybody embraced it and went with it, like I want to have this felt art now in the entire city, and we're moving, and how many months later we're
It's going to be great.
But I think it can be a big turning point, just about sharing what we're doing, having plans, And, you know, I would like to think that what happened to Curry will not happen again because we're just more, yeah. And we'll get him an Instagram.
Right.
Please tell Madalena.
Just a slight backup to the Michael Berberg. Jay, if you could tell us how we handle like the extension of the contract, the specific notification to the artist. Is that something the city has to do?
Yes, and the artist would obviously have to agree to it. So it's, or deliver the product by the 4th.
By the 4th. So should I have Michael be in touch with you?
That would be fine. I
Yeah.
will reach out to him.
Hopefully it's just a little clause at the end, right? Not a whole thing. Okay, Mr. Vice Chair.
I've been waiting.
I make a motion to adjourn this meeting of the Public Arts Commission to our next regular meeting, Thursday, October 11th, 2018, at 4 p.m. in the Palm Springs Art Museum, 101 North Museum Drive, Palm Springs, 92262.
I'll
Excellent.
second.
Thank you. And I would like to say thank you to Jay, who is.
Thank you, Jay.
Actually
Thank you,
getting,
Jay.
yeah, no, seriously. No, but things are actually getting done, like Sarah's contract. Right, thank you, yes. It is.